Okay, so in this lecture, let's continue with the detail view functionality. So our job is now to go ahead and just display the details whenever someone actually visits /1 over here. So now in order to display those database details, we first need to go ahead and obtain the data from our database or the backend. So how exactly are we going to do that? So for that, let's move on to the detail view right here. And just as we have queried the items over here, we are also going to go ahead and do the same over here as well. So now what we do is that we don't want to query all the items. Instead, we want to query the item whose ID is equal to the item ID. So if someone enters /1, the item ID becomes 1, and we actually want to query the object whose item ID is 1. So let's go ahead and do that. So I can type in item, and now instead of getting all the objects, we want to get the object who has a specific ID. So we type in objects.get, and in here I'll type in pk, which is primary key, is equal to item ID. So what this means is that we only want to get that particular object whose ID or pk or primary key is equal to item ID, which is this item ID right here. Now let's go ahead and store this thing into some sort of a variable. So I'll just go ahead and save that in, let's say, item. So now once we have this data into the item, let's go ahead and create a context out of it. So I can type in context equals, and then just simply type in item, and then give a colon, that's going to be item, and then give a comma at the end. So now as you can see, we have created the context in the same fashion as we had created here. So now once you have the context in here, now we all know that you need to pass in the context to a template along with the request. So right now we don't have any template for detail, so let's go ahead and create that template right now. So let's go to templates directory, let's go to the food directory, right click over here and create a new file, and that's going to be called as detail.html. So now once we have this detail template, let's go ahead and write in some code in here. So here, once we have the context in this particular item, we can now go ahead and easily access their properties. So let me just type in h1 as a heading, and in here let's use the template syntax, and we already have the context as item, so we can type in item dot, and let's say I want to access the item name, so I can simply type in item underscore name. And now let's say I want to display the item description in h2, I simply type in h2, and then I can type in something like item dot item underscore description, and now let's say in h3 I want to display the price, so I can type in item dot item underscore price. Okay, so once we have extracted all those properties over here, let's see if this thing works fine. So we have passed in the context, we have created the template, and now we need to render the template along with the context. So again, we will use a shortcut here, that is, we'll use render and then pass in request, and then you also need to pass in the path for the template. So this is going to be /detail.html, and then you also pass in the context, which is this context right here. So I can pass in context in here, and now let's go ahead, save the code, and let's see if this thing works out. So I can hop back over here, and now instead of just food, when I type in /1, as you can see, we get the details for pizza over here. And when I go ahead, type in /2, we don't get anything because food with an ID 2 does not exist. When I go ahead and type in /3, I get the details for burrito. When I go ahead and type in /4, I get a cheeseburger here. That means we have successfully added the functionality for detail. But there is one single problem over here, that is, we don't want to actually go ahead and manually add in those IDs. Instead, what we want to do is that we simply want to click on these IDs over here. So let's go ahead and implement that feature as well. So now we all know that this view actually comes from the index.html page, which is this page right here. And in order to add that functionality, you simply need to add a ahref tag over here. So I can type in ahref, and now in here, in this particular tag, you can simply just get that, paste it up over here. And instead of having the link as blank, you can type in the URL as /food/ and then you actually want the item ID in here, which is nothing but this item ID. So I can simply go ahead, copy that, paste it up over here. So what this does is that for each item, it's going to create a dynamic URL. So for example, for the first item, the URL is going to be /food/1, so that whenever you click on the first item, it's going to redirect to /food/1. For the second item, it's going to do /food/2. Now let's see this thing in action. So now if I go ahead, hit refresh, now as you can see, all of those things are links. And now if you hover over here, as you can see at the bottom, make sure that you have your eye over here. So when I hover over this, as you can see, the URL is /food/1. When I go down, this thing has URL like /food/3, and this has a URL as /food/4. So now when I click on the first thing, I get pizza and its details. When I click on burrito, I get burrito and its details. And when I go ahead and click on cheeseburger, I get the details for cheeseburger as well as its details. Now, sorry for the typo over here. That's a mistake, but still our app is going to work just fine. So that's it. We have implemented the detail view functionality. That is, we now can get details of any individual items on which we click. So that's it for this lecture. Hopefully you guys were able to understand this detail functionality. But in case if you have some doubts regarding this, then feel free to post your query in the Q&A section, and I will be there to help you out. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.